All right, well, here we are, folks. Day 4, different location. Day 4? Yeah, I think day 4. Different location. This time, I'm not at historic Fort Missoula. I'm literally about 2/3 of the way up a mountainside. It's called Blue Mountain. So I'm thousands of feet above Missoula right now. But I felt like a walk in the woods to talk with you guys. So, last time, yesterday, I talked a fairly good bit about keto and about intermittent fasting, which you can kind of go down a rabbit hole on, for sure. I did. It's a bit of a fun rabbit hole, but it can also get really constraining and constricting. And that's probably why, after you watched yesterday's video, or if you did, I mentioned that I had got a case of walking pneumonia. And when I got over that, I didn't really go back to it. I meant to. I wanted to, but not enough. So I never got back into it. And I think part of the reason is not that it was super, 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 super hard to make it a habit and make it a lifestyle, because, as I said yesterday, I did, really, for several months. And I didn't mind it while I was doing it. Didn't mind it at all, really. But the part that I did mind, or if there was a part that I minded, it would be the constraints and the restrictions. And you just kind of have to suck it up and deal with that if you're going to do either one of those or both. Because you have to think pretty carefully about what you're going to eat, and more importantly, what you're not going to eat. You're not going to have that small bag of Doritos at your desk at the office that you nip into late in the morning or a little after lunch or whatever. You're not going to have a soda or a diet soda. Although I will say, and this is one of my biggest weaknesses, so here we go with admissions, I am slavishly addicted to Diet Pepsi in particular. Diet Coke I like too. They're pretty darn close. But I actually did continue to drink Diet Pepsi while I was doing those, but certainly not at the amounts that I did before. But, knowing that you're not going to go out for dinner with friends and tuck into, a big communal basket of fries, not going to happen. You're going to order a hamburger, take the bun off, eat the burger patty and the tomato and the lettuce. That's what you're going to do if you're doing keto. Oh my. I'm going to back up here a little bit and turn around so you guys can see how high up above my beautiful hometown I am. This is a view from Blue Mountain. And that is Missoula, Montana, down in the valley beneath me, beneath us. Wow. So, yeah, glad I picked this location today. I don't think I'm going to pick a new location every day. I'm probably going to be in just a handful of locations most of the time. But I really do feel blessed and lucky to live in such a beautiful place. It raises my spirits and inspires me. And it's also my hometown, so I feel really generally happy here. Anyway, back to keto. If you are thinking about trying it, I would strongly suggest, I don't know how much any of you geek out on health-related videos on YouTube. But if you do, if you're kind of inclined that way, and I am, if you want absolute, beautiful, great, guru-level information, I would start watching a guy named Thomas DeLauer. Thomas spelled the regular way. DeLauer is D-E-L-A-U-E-R. He's actually got a very successful channel. And while he's not an MD or a DO, he does have a background somewhere in the medical field. And he really gets granular. In fact, that's one of his favorite terms, seemingly. He gets granular about food and exercise, but predominantly food and what we can eat to really find our ideal, to find what is physically best for us. And he knows and realizes that we're all individuals. By the way, I'm going to turn around again because it's an even better view here. Here we go. Missoula, Montana, ladies and gentlemen. The last best place. And it really is. But watch Thomas DeLauer. Again, D-E-L-A-U-E-R. If you like to geek out over stuff like this. If you find things like that boring, or more information than you want, then don't bother. Don't worry about it. Maybe, although I haven't done this myself, maybe even just see what he has in the way of shorts, that short form videos that get right down to the nitty gritty quickly. So it's a thought for those who don't want to sit through his whole exposition on dietary regimens. But he's great. Notice the people that he refers to and the people that he interviews, because they're pretty great too. I mostly stick with him, but he has a number of physicians that he works with, and they have some really great, in-depth, nitty-gritty conversations about all of this. So if you're thinking about keto, that's certainly a direction to look for guidance. He is, at this point in his life, exceptionally fit, but he wasn't. I'm guessing he's pushing 40 now, maybe he is 40. But when he was in his late 20s or early 30s, I'm not sure which, he was working in a healthcare-related field, but it was basically corporate. And he weighed way too much. Way too much. Maybe not quite as much as I do right now, but close. Close. And he realized things had to change. And so he started making changes. And as with all of us, for him too, somebody who's now a recognized expert in the field, in the niche, it's trial and error. He figured out what worked for him and what didn't work for him. And he researched and he learned and he tried different things. And I think we all need to do that. We all need to figure out what works best for us. You know, you could have somebody come and say, you have to do cardio at least 6 times a week to notice any gains. Well, maybe that's true for that person. They may be speaking their own truth. But what they're not realizing is that there's nothing about humans, almost nothing, where one size fits all. We are all different. And what works for us is a little different for each of us. So, and you notice I've switched hands again here because my right hand is falling asleep from holding this silly thing. I'm not going to go to the gym and bang out a bunch of reps of whatever weight for resistance training because I don't like it. It will be really hard for me to continue doing it. I am, like most people, it's very hard to make myself do things I don't like. So that's not going to work for me. Honestly, going to the gym, you know, I think 50% of America signs up for a gym membership on January 2nd. the day after the hangover has ended, and swear and promise God that they're never going to drink again, and that this year they're going to get in shape. And within a month, most of those gym memberships are unused or canceled. And people do it year after year. That's insanity. It doesn't work. For me, the hang up is that it's not easily accessible enough, which is really lazy on my part. But that's just me. What works for me is this: literally walking out the door on my way to do other things and deciding, you know what, I'm just going to stop by the fort, take a good walk. Or, I feel like a little communing with nature and walking in the woods up here on the mountainside. And maybe where you live, you don't have some of these options, but find something that you do like. Even if you, live in a city and have to find your way to a good park, or if there's a neighborhood that you can drive to or take a train to or take a bus to get what you want out of it. Sounds like more work, I know, but if it's not right outside your door, find a way to get to where you like. And maybe it is right outside your door. Honestly, I would love to just get on the footpath, bike path that's right outside my house, but I don't. It would be the simplest thing in the world, but I don't because I'm right next to a major street, and the amount of car noise is just ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. And so all that background noise, I think, would drive people away in droves, so I don't do it. But find what works for you, whether it's going to the gym because you like the environment, maybe you like the camaraderie, maybe you need to pay a trainer to keep you on board. Sorry, my head dipped out of frame a little bit there. Maybe you need to do something like that. Maybe you don't, or maybe you don't feel like you can afford a gym membership or a trainer. That's certainly my situation right now. I wouldn't do it if I felt like I could afford it, because it's still not what I enjoy. But find what works for you. What works for you is different than what works for your neighbor. What's different than what works for your friend at work is different than what works for me or your spouse or whoever. Find what works for you. Don't just convince yourself that it works. See if it's actually working. Think to yourself about what you're doing, how you're doing it, if you're liking it, and if you're getting results. That's my metric anyway. Do I like it? Do I like being out in all this? Heck yeah, I do. It's beautiful. So this is what I love. But find what works best for you and gets you results, or starts getting you results. I think yesterday, I'm not going to step on a scale very often and share that, although I might sometimes. But what I think I'm going to notice, and what you are going to notice, is some of this going away. I want some of this to go away. That's going to be my first sign that I'm really starting to show some results. And unfortunately, the parts we want to change on ourselves often the most aren't the ones that change first. So, the belly beneath the screen here is way bigger than I want it to be. Way bigger. And that's probably going to be one of the last things that changes. I think my face will be the first, because that's what's happened in the past. And hopefully I'll see it soon. And you guys will see it soon. And you'll be like, hey, maybe he's onto something here. But just find out what works for you. Figure out what works for you. And do it. And don't let family or friends dissuade you. We all can carve out 15 or 20 minutes out of our day. I know you probably don't think you can, but you can. Whether it's putting the kids to bed and having your spouse watch over them for 20 minutes while you take a walk. Or maybe it's getting up 20 minutes earlier, which I know is almost impossible for me to do, but maybe you can do it. But make the time. Make the time for yourself, not just for the exercise. Make it be about time for yourself. Make it be your chance to relax, collect your thoughts, process your life, and get some exercise while you're doing it. Whether you have beautiful wildflower meadows behind you or just pavement in the city, do what you need to. Find your fit. And just be cool about others who might not share your vibe. You know, what they think is okay. And you can just say, yeah, I know. But what you're saying would work for you, doesn't work for me. So I'm just going to keep doing this. And we'll find that little by little, day by day, week by week, we have small successes. That's my 16 minutes today, 16 and a half minutes. So I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great day.